Many of Mike Danna's professional relationships grew into lasting friendships. One could make a very strong argument that nearly everything in Mike's life centered around the duty of friendship. Michael Danna made an art of taking photos like these, but he also liked to be in them, almost always surrounded by friends. Friends who say he was
the kind of friend you want to have, period. If you had one friend to have in life, Mike Danna was the guy.
Mike took these photos of farm broadcaster Don Molino. The two would work closely together for 30 years.
I've seen him develop from, I don't want to use this term, but I'm going to use it anyway, snot-nosed kid, which he was 30 years ago, into someone who's a consummate professional, someone who has two great kids that he didn't have 30 years ago, and someone who's led a full life. I guess that's what we all want. We want family, friends, and love. And he's had them all. And, you know, I won't say more than his fair share, but he's had at least his fair share plus 10%.
That extra 10% likely came from this group of people, the Bammers, as Mike used to call them. The name stems from the initials of the place they met weekly for coffee, Books A Million. That's where attorney Julie Baxter grew close to Mike.
He's really the reason we've had a very personal, friendly coffee group that met on Saturday mornings for the last, I don't know, almost 20 years. And that grew out of Mike's love for Jim Featherston, who was his journalism professor. And Jim loved to meet, I think it was even before 8 o'clock back then, now it's about 2 p.m. But Jim would want to meet at Books A Million on Perkins Road. The store doesn't even exist anymore, but Nancy Coffin was the manager, Jim came in, and slowly Mike and Jim Featherston began to gather this group of people who were writers, journalists, PR people, news people, Jim Angster, Bill Sherman, Errol Savoy, myself. Lots of folks would come in and just chew the fat.
Mike will live in the hearts of those that he leaves behind.
Darren Mann met Mike in 1997 and quickly learned a lesson while chewing the fat over coffee.
Friendship was the sweetest responsibility. And to Mike, it was more than just a responsibility. I mean, it almost came across as though this duty. And he was an incredible friend, giving, caring, loyal.
I don't know that I've met a finer man than Mike Danna.
Radio host Jim Angster and Mike grew close in the coffee group, but the two first crossed paths 30 years ago.
My first recollection was when he first started at the Farm Bureau in 1985, and he was providing us with reports during the day at the Louisiana Radio Network. And he was, of course, a perfectionist, and he wanted to know how he was doing. And the first time he filed a report, he was a few seconds over the line as far as timing, and I told him that. And he's never forgotten that story. He would always remind me that I scolded him the first time we talked.
There would be no more scolding. Mike and Jim would go on to travel to Israel together in 2004, form the business partnership now known as the Louisiana Farm Bureau Agri-News Radio Network, and learn from one another over the years.
I'll miss his smile, his laugh, his voice, his knowledge, his wisdom, his friendship, and his courage. And he showed us what kind of a man he was by the way he departed. Mike Danna showed us not only how to live our lives, but how to exit them as well.
There have been people in my life that I love dearly that died I didn't have a chance to say goodbye to, or they haven't a chance to say goodbye to me. But when he called me that day and said, "I'm ready, I'll see you on the other side," blew me away. It was one of the nicest things that's ever been done for me. It did me more good than it did him. To have the chance to say goodbye and tell somebody, "Hey, I've enjoyed knowing you, I love you, I'll be waiting for you."
Mike, to me, is probably the highest caliber friend I have. He's fun, he makes me laugh, but Mike was excellent in everything he does. Mike was there for me, and before I knew I needed him to be there.
Reckless devotion, whatever it takes. That's what Mike, it was reckless devotion to his friends. by any means necessary, I am there for my friends, I will help my friends, I will support my friends, and I will love my friends. And he definitely loved his friends a lot.
Still to come on this special edition of TWILA, Remembering Michael Danna, the never-before-seen interview that shows Mike's dedication to his job and those who made him the man we loved.